Welcome to Professionalism in a Virtual World, Episode 2, Your Virtual Signature. In Episode 1, we described professionalism as the ability to produce results while also building trusted relationships. This episode explores our virtual signature. What contributes to a virtual signature? And how can we become more intentional in making a positive impact on others to achieve our goals? Pause here and open or print out the mini self-assessment included with the learning resources in Accelerate. We'll use this throughout the session. Our virtual signature is how we establish and reinforce who we are and the way we wish to be regarded by others in a remote workplace. We shape our virtual signature every day, regardless of the environment we work in. But the virtual world adds some unique challenges and opportunities. Self-presentation is one of the ways we contribute to our virtual signature. This is how we show up for others and includes things such as our appearance, availability, reliability, and consistency. In our approaches to these, we demonstrate respect for others.
For me, it's important that people see me as authentic and that authentic, caring, that they don't have to guess too much about my character and who I am, and that I'm going to support them to the best of my ability. So I think it's part of who I am, and I want it to be easy for those I'm working with to see it.
So when I think about my virtual signature and who I am in this virtual remote world, I try to mimic who I am when I'm on campus. So I reflect on my office and my environment as what I hope to portray to people as being professional, but inviting and welcome. So I try to mimic that online I have a few pictures of my family behind me. I try to dress in a way that I would do if I were on campus, so that I'm presenting myself in the same way virtually.
How we show up gives people permission to show up also in a particular way. And so I try to, as best I can, show up as myself and let that, and create a space where that makes it okay for someone else to be themselves.
Always maintain and exhibit a level of respect toward employees. If you can't do Teams and you can't do Zooms, I'll just call you on the phone. And I call them on the phone to give them the time and to devote to their issues just like I would if they were on Teams or Zoom. And I think that's important too, that you still have to meet people where they are.
Meeting people where they are in the virtual world means thinking about your audience and connecting with them in ways that work best for them versus what is convenient for us. How do we know for sure? Ask. Pause the session now and use the mini self-assessment to capture your thoughts on questions 1 through 4. Our virtual presence is created by what we allow people to see and hear while we're connected, and how we use tools, equipment, and technology to create an effective environment to build relationships and get work done. For many, the virtual world has enabled even stronger relationships.
There are some relationships that have developed for me amongst my staff, people I have known. I've been at CAPS for 18 years, people I have known for many, many, many years. And our relationships now are so much richer and so much closer, and we get so much more done because we genuinely and authentically know one another in some different ways. And the productivity that comes out of it is incredible.
This virtual world for me has been one of the most positive things, that we can get to a deeper personal connection, I feel like, right now.
These personal connections remind us that we're all working under unique situations, and we're all in this together.
I'm working, my wife is working, kids are home from school. Right now I can hear above me, because I sit in the basement, someone walking on the floor, and the wood floor creaking and stomping in, it's not the most ideal work environment, but I think everyone right now is in that same situation. But those are things that we can't control, unfortunately. And it isn't a lack of unprofessionalism. It's just, it is the world that we have to adjust to, in making sure that, hey, when they happen, be polite, be understanding.
We also need to keep empathy and understanding in mind as well, because there may be reasons why somebody doesn't turn on their camera, and we have to understand that's okay. It may not be the way, the way that they're showing up in their virtual presence may not necessarily be the way that we would, but that doesn't necessarily make it wrong. And then also just kind of understanding that, like, people are home. And so, like, if they have their kid on their lap or their cat, like my cat always walks across the screen in the midst of, really important presentations. That's okay. Like, it's okay to have a little bit of humor and empathy and understanding with it as well.
So I'm learning a lot just from observing and just seeing how people handle, their situation, being at home, and what they share and what they choose to reveal. I think that's also very telling as well. And I've learned a lot about, doing that myself. I'm kind of a private person, and I'm not always somebody that shares, but I love seeing that people share in chats and people share in these meetings about, the things that happen in their home and in their world. So I think we should learn from others.
A virtual meeting can make us feel even closer to each other than if we were in a physical room together. We are focused on the images in front of us, and we make meaning from those images.
There are actually cues that are coming out in the virtual environment because of the way we need to pay attention, because of our ability to be able to focus on things. So I think there is actually information we're getting that we would not really have gotten before. And that's, on the one side, that's kind of cool. On the other side, it's nerve-wracking. So the whole piece about virtual signature and what I'm communicating and stuff becomes really quite salient.
An important cue that becomes even more apparent is our ability to be fully present while we're together.
In a virtual world, I think that is something that is really, really challenging, because it's easy to be distracted by things on the screen or things around you, or to be at home. So for me, I realize that I have to practice that a lot, to look into the camera when I'm talking, to not look over to the side and do other work, or to respond to a family member or things like that. But at the same time, also to allow people to have that place of grace where we know that there's interruptions, and we welcome those interruptions as just part of what the virtual world is.
Not being fully present can also happen because we have less transition, planning, and downtime during the day. How do we gain back some of that headspace to be more present in our meetings?
Do a virtual commute. That drive to and from the office provide you with a chance to think about the day ahead and what has happened and what tomorrow will bring. So if you're working from home and going right from the breakfast table to your office, you're probably missing out on that time to think. So maybe take a walk around the block before and after the workday to restore that virtual commute time and give yourself some good transition period.
Being fully present is also difficult as we extend the workday to be available for others and balance family responsibilities. What tools are we using to help us manage this?
Another way is to use technology in ways that help you respect your schedule and allow you to be available for others when you might not be in front of the computer. With Microsoft Teams, they have a mobile client that works on your phone, whether it's Android or iOS, and you can use that to stay in touch with your team. If you have to run to the doctor's office or pick up the kids at school, and it's a lot easier than remembering a bunch of cell phone numbers for all your colleagues. Microsoft Teams is already set up so that everybody that works at Wayne State is accessible.
Pause the session now and use the mini self-assessment to capture your thoughts on questions 5 through 7. Our ability to help others receive the messages as we intend is the essence of communication, the last component of our virtual signature. Let's explore some things we can be aware of and adjust as the sender of a message in a virtual workplace. Words are only one element of communication. Tone of voice, facial expression, and body language all play a role in how our message is interpreted.
Because we're not in person, some of our body language and things are lost. So we have to rely on other characteristics. We have to do other things to make sure that people are hearing our entire message or what we're saying.
Over the phone, we miss several of these elements. On a Zoom call, video may be poor quality. Multiple people and images compete for our attention. Cameras are turned off. Sound is interrupted. Each of these conditions can impact the effectiveness of our message. Understanding our audience, being open to feedback, and learning from each other are ways we can overcome some of these challenges.
I've been able to view how other people use the technology and comments they make in chats and as models for me, and like, oh, I really like how they did that. I'm going to carry that over. And I've noticed kind of an evolution also in my own chat comments and things like that that have moved in a direction that kind of is giving me some pride that like I'm growing, and that also that I feel like I'm doing better for others in the service that I provide.
One of the most important ways to improve communication is by living our values of integrity and diversity and inclusion. Backing up our words with actions and demonstrating respect are the hallmarks of our virtual signature.
What does inclusion look like in this virtual world? And maybe being responsive to the needs of others via technology is one of those ways, right? It's a show of respect that we're not forcing them to flex to what we want, but meeting them where they're at and what they need.
I have to do my part by following up, being timely. I have to back up my signature with following through on what I've said I would.
I think it's really important that we recognize how stressful this is. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We are home. Our home life and our work life have collided. And so we need to understand that sometimes people are distracted, and sometimes they need just to be with you to talk about something, or they need to go in another direction. And that's just part of the stressfulness of what we're dealing with right now. And I think that's really, really important to stay engaged with one another as best as we can virtually, and to really support one another in this extremely stressful time in our lives.
I feel like, anything I can do to help support them helps them in the moment and helps them to be able to move on with their day. And maybe it's, has to do with, technology or something that they're trying to accomplish. And the same thing, anything to help them move on with their day, I think is part of what I want to be considered as a professional.
The virtual environment has allowed us, sometimes by choice and other times not by our choice, to show more of our whole selves. How do we create safer spaces for this? Pause the session now and use the mini self-assessment to capture your thoughts on questions 8 through 10. Connect with a Wayne State colleague who is passionate about this topic and is available to share experiences, answer questions, and support your learning. Meet some of your professionalism buddies.
Hi, I'm Melissa Crabtree. I am the Senior Director of IT Customer Services working for Computing and Information Technology. Some of the departments that are under my supervision or part of my portfolio include the help desk, the desk tech group that does desktop support, classroom support for all of the general purpose classrooms, as well as desktop engineering, which helps manage all of those computers. My passion for wanting to be a buddy I was reached out by someone that I'm actually mentoring right now. And so I'm super excited just to be able to help other people navigate this crazy world that we're living in right now. I can't wait to go back to being in person. I'm a people person, but excited to be able to help anyone that needs to navigate this professional world right now from home. Contact me via the Wayne State directory. It would be eb3969@wayne.edu is probably the best way. I'm pretty much attached to my email 24/7. And so easiest way to contact me. I usually don't answer phone calls that look like they're weird numbers. And so that's why email is the best option. Looking forward to helping everybody as we continue through this pandemic and through working from home. Thanks so much. Bye.
In Episode 3, we'll talk about ways to plan, apply, and support your learning to achieve your goals.